next heavyweight titleist, Oleg Muskayev, on Friday Night Fights now. Friday Night Fights presented by Just for Men Hair Colors in Southern California's beautiful Temecula Valley. The Pachanga Resort Casino, the centerpiece of this spectacular mountain frame setting. We are just north of San Diego, and it is a diverse fight card we have. A fight card that's topped by heavyweights. That always makes things a bit more interesting. The big boys we're going to focus in on, young Damian Wills and veteran CC Salif.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to another edition of Friday Night Fights here on ESPN2. I'm Robert Flores. Pleased to be joined side by Hall of Fame boxing writer, historian, Bert Sugar. Bert, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
I'm fine. I'm excited to be here. Of course, at my age, I'm excited to be anywhere.
Ba-dum-doom. Well, let me ask you. Joe asked the question right off the top. Where are the great American heavyweights? You got Oleg Muskayev winning last weekend. Now all four title holders hail from the former Soviet Union. What happened to all the American guys?
I don't know. It sounds to me, Robert, like a Russian law firm. Hovich, Muskayev, Klitschko, and Valyev. You have to understand one thing. We've always thought it our birthright. It is an American title, we thought. I mean, real quickly, 1938, the rematch of Lewis Schmeling. Franklin Roosevelt brings Lewis to the White House, feels his biceps for the fight against the German Schmeling, and says, Joe, we need these muscles for democracy. Last Saturday night, we had the last line of defense. We don't have any defense. We don't have that great heavyweight that's going to take over. I don't see it right now.
Well, we'll talk with Muskayev, the new champion, a little bit later here on Friday Night Fights. You can catch Bert on ESPN Classics Ringside alongside Brian Kenny. But, Bert, there's some things that fight fans maybe don't know about you.
I'm not sure I want them to know.
Including your, there you go, promising rugby career.
That's promising?
Well, not there. Talk about below the belt. That's you on the ground getting stepped on.
Yes, that's about where I belong. And here I was,
with
if you will, sparring with Muhammad Ali. I'm the one on the receiving end with Joe DiMaggio. I'm a big baseball buff.
Right.
And he was a very good friend of mine. And these are two men, this is probably as close as they've gotten since their fight. Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Let me ask you this, fight fans that know you, maybe even fight fans that really don't follow the game, know Bert Sugar for the hat. How did the hat become part of your signature look?
I'm not sure without the hat I couldn't go into the witness protection program, but when I wanted to be a writer, I frequented a watering hole, would be the nice way to put it, in New York called Toots Shores, and I once asked a man who wore a hat, Red Smith, a great writer, why do you wear a hat? And he said way back in about the first or second decade of the 20th century, when the old newspapers were set by hot type Morgenthaler machines, and they would set the type, they would hit the key and it would strike the letter A, B, C, and the filaments would fly off. And of course the typesetting room was right above the edit room because they'd sent their stories up by pneumatic tube, and the filaments would come down in sort of a drizzle. And the writers figured, the heck with it, they put hats on and it sort of caught the drizzle. And by the by, it's not because you put the press pass in.
That's the way they do it in the movies.
Yeah, that was later or never. But if you ever saw the old movie front page,
right,
they're wearing hats inside because of the drizzle of the old linotype machines.
And there you have the rest of the story. Bert Sugar will be with us the entire 2 hours here on Friday Night Fights. We'll get his thoughts on Carlos Baldomir, Floyd Mayweather, that welterweight champ. Impressive newcomer, Joaquin.
He looks to go to 3-0 against Roderick Grajeda. There's Joaquin Marquez, 23 years old, 5'9", 152 and a nugget. California prospect, 2-0, 2 first-round knockouts. He turned pro 2 months ago. Tonight, he faces the very likable Roderick Grajeda. He's from Anaheim, 24 years old, same height, checked in a pound less. 6-4-1, 3 knockouts. Hasn't fought since October 2004. Interesting background story as to why that was the case. He was working hard, trying to make ends meet, and as of 6 months ago, he was homeless. It is a scheduled 4-round fight. And Jack Reese is the referee.
All right, I gave you both instructions in the dressing room. I just want to remind you to listen and obey my commands at all times. Protect yourself at all times. Fight hard, but fight clean. Touch them up. Good luck to both of you. Easy, easy.
Little something extra. Joaquin Marquez started boxing at age 8. Had 75 amateur wins. His last amateur win was back in 1997 against future gold medalist Andre Ward. Then got in trouble with the law, served prison time for 7 years, got out this spring, turned pro on June 23rd, a TKO 1, fought again on July 20th, a KO 1, and now is here looking for number 3. Not wasting any time, Teddy.
No, well, he knows he has an opponent in front of him that took this fight on 2 days' notice. Grajeda not only took this fight on 2 days' notice, but as you pointed out, Joe, it's been 1 year and 10 months.
Right, you okay? Calm down.
Since he was last in the ring. So Marquez figured he would take advantage of Grajeda's inactivity.
Grajeda just ate a left hand, and he's being swarmed by an attack by Marquez with his back against the ropes. Marquez misses with a right, then places a right to the body.
Real tough spot for Grajeda, and Marquez trying to make it even tougher. Grajeda took this fight on 2 days' notice, came into this fight heaviest of his career. Might be a good idea for Marquez to throw some of those many punches downstairs.
Marquez threw 55 punches in the opening minute of this round. Another right hand to the body, catches an uppercut that time.
Right now, if I was Marquez, I would concentrate on the body and the uppercuts, since Grajeda starting to lean forward.
Misses with that uppercut. Now Grajeda offering up a little offense, but he gets backed up with a right hand. And once again, Marquez on the attack, squared up right in the pocket.
Right now, I think Marquez should throw all the other punches in his arsenal out the window and concentrate on the uppercut. Again, Grajeda leaning forward, leaving that uppercut available.
Left uppercut, left hand again.
Fighter, get out.
Of all the punches that Marquez has thrown, as you said, there have been many in this first round. Not enough to the body, I believe, of Grajeda.
Just over 2 minutes of action, and Joaquin Marquez is nearing the 100 punches thrown mark. There's a combination from Roderick Grajeda.
Get off his head.
The strategy has been used time and time again. If your opponent has had a long layoff, go after him early. He won't have time to shake off the ring rust. That's exactly what Joaquin Marquez did here early on in this first round.
That and the fact that his opponent, Grajeda, with that long layoff, also taking the fight only on Wednesday. But he's shown plenty of heart.
Survived it.
Stop, Grajeda. Maybe not concentrating on the body quite enough.
Look at the numbers from the first round. Marquez 58 of 123. Hey, not a bad bounce back by Grajeda after that first minute when it was nonstop action in his face. He went 35 of 107. Now he goes to the body, left himself wide open for a left hook. Instead, he places a straight right hand.
Well, Grajeda has been knocked out 3 times. And he's shown some durability here early on. You know, if you get it in your head, being that this is such a mental game, 75% of this game, the sweet science, is mental. If you get it in your head that you're going to have an easy night, and you go out there quick like Marquez did, thinking that it's going to be an easy night, thinking that your opponent will cooperate with you, and he does not cooperate with you, he's still there. sometimes it's difficult to make the mental adjustment to a fight that you were never ready for, a fight that you should have been ready for anytime you get in the ring. Let's see whether or not Marquez is caught short or caught by surprise with Grajeda still being here.
Lead right uppercut. Grajeda doesn't go anywhere. He has absorbed a lot. He's also given a little more in this second round. Goes to the body, and you can see a little bit of blood from the nose of Joaquin Marquez.
And also you can see, even though Marquez is 2-0 with 2 knockouts, and you can see that he likes to start fast, he does not possess real natural big banging power in his hands. Grajeda has been able to survive the onslaught, both by heart and endurance, and by the fact that Marquez, not a huge banger.
Punch track headshots. Look at these numbers. Marquez at 43%. Grajeda throwing over 110 and counting. Right hand goes to the uppercut himself. What a start to Friday night fights. Right hand uppercut.
Give credit to Grajeda, not only for showing heart and staying power after that quick start by Marquez in the first round, but instinctually understanding that although he may be raw and undeveloped in certain areas, technically, he knows that he has to find a way to slow down the shots coming from Marquez. His way is to smother Marquez, and he's done that fairly effectively.
End of 2. He was working hard, couldn't make ends meet, and was homeless as of 6 months ago. Now he's back. Punches through 2 rounds of action. Look at the totals. Averaging over 100 punches thrown per round.
You could see Grajeda, as I started to touch on in the last round, maybe limited talent-wise and even technically-wise. But instinctually, he knows that the one thing he can do is get close to Marquez to smother some of those shots, take some of the room away from him, negate some of that speed by getting in close and making sure that he makes it as physical as possible to make up for what he lacks with speed and finesse. And for the most part, Grajeda has been able to do that and stem the tide a little bit by doing that.
Well, he telegraphed that right hand, but it landed to the body.
Nothing complicated or fancy by Grajeda. Just getting close, trying to put his head on the chest of Marquez. Figures if you can push Marquez backwards, he can do 2 things. He can take some of the power, some of the sting off the punches of Marquez, and as I said, take the room away for Marquez to be effective. Good instincts and good heart by Grajeda. He's not working with a lot, Joe, Grajeda, but he's making the most of it in the best way he can. And Marquez, somebody needs to get on him. He needs to get out of that position, allowing Grajeda to do what he wants. Back him up, smother him, and land effective punches. Marquez has shown himself to be the more talented fighter in certain athletic ways. He needs to get space to use that ability. He's not being given the space in these tight quarters.
Just ate a right hand. Sends back a little leather.
Marquez is not serving himself in close quarters. This is where Marquez can serve himself, on the outside, where that hand speed can shine. Good round. Maybe the less talented Grajeda, but the very determined Grajeda.
Less talent, a lot of heart. End of 3. The final round of what has been perhaps the most entertaining 4-round fight of our Friday night fight year. Joaquin Marquez in the green, white, and red. The tough and determined Roderick Grajeda in the white. Teddy Atlas's scorecard says this round will determine it. Good uppercut on the inside for Marquez. Grajeda came forward, kept throwing.
And again, the same tactic for maybe the less developed Grajeda. Get in close, get your head on the chest of the faster, more developed Marquez, smother him, and catch him with shots whenever you can. Again, it would serve Marquez, in my estimation, to stay on the outside like he is now. Get space where his better talent and his better hand speed can have room to show itself. When you're in close, you don't get a chance to show that talent. Grajeda has been taken away, distance, smothering, pushing Marquez, not giving him the environment he needs to use those quick hands.
Stop, do not punch. Step out.
You know, we talked about the advantages going in here, Joe. Most of them to Marquez, the undefeated fighter.
Push him in, right.
But the advantage right now may lay in the corner of Grajeda. He's been the only guy in this ring that has been into these rounds. He's been 6 rounds 2 times. Marquez, tonight is the first time he's been past that first round.
Combination from Marquez. Marquez holding on top of the head, loosens up, gets off the left hand, and you can see that head of Grajeda right in the chest of Marquez as he digs to the body. A little bit of space in the uppercut lands.
I believe Marquez would serve himself, as I said,
step back clean.
Throughout the night here in this fight, would serve himself well by giving a little separation, a little distance, where he'd have room to get those hands off, to show that advantage in speed. In close, the advantage has been Grajeda.
Let his arm go, let his arm go.
You can be the slower, cruder man when you're in close. You take away the ability for your opponent to use that talent. And that's exactly what Grajeda's been trying to do since that first round.
Nearly 12 minutes, they've gone after each other. You know they're going to let loose when they hear this 10-second clap. Marquez and Grajeda, here they come. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Marquez and Grajeda, pleased and impressed to start off Friday night fights. The scores when we come goes to the unbeaten Joaquin Marquez. Let's hear what ring announcer Mike Hart has to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, for our decision, we go to David Mendoza and Judge Jerry Cantu. Both score the bout 38-38. We have a majority draw.
Give a lot of credit to Roderick Grajeda. He was swarmed in the opening moments. He had a 22-month layoff, and he fought with a lot of heart that earned him the draw. So Marquez now 2-0-1. Grajeda 6-4-2. Great effort from both fighters. Much more to come on Friday Night Fights.
1999, Oleg Moskayev sent Hasim Rahman through the ropes. 7 years later, same 2 fighters, this time for Rahman's WBC heavyweight championship. Maybe it wasn't quite as dramatic, but the result was still the same. Let's take you back out to Las Vegas last Saturday night. Rahman, the WBC heavyweight champion. Oleg Moskayev getting his first championship opportunity at age 37. And Bert, Rahman really controlled the early rounds.
He had a jab working for him. I don't know where it went after round 3. He thought, number 1, that Moskayev was moving from him, and he was. His corner had instructed him to. And number 2, he thought he'd go for the knockout.
But then in that 12th round, towards the latter half of the fight, maybe the last quarter, rounds 9 on, Rahman really began to tire.
He looked like a water hose after you'd turned the pressure off. He just went down, and he barely got off his stool for the 12th round.
And the 12th round is where Moskayev really asserted his will against the WBC champion Hasim Rahman at the time. And for the second consecutive time, Moskayev defeats Rahman via knockout. This time it comes in the 12th round. Should be noted that Rahman, although it was a close fight, leading on 2 of the 3 scorecards. With Moskayev's win, all 4 heavyweight belt holders now hail from the former Soviet Union. Pleased to be joined now by WBC heavyweight champion Oleg Moskayev. Oleg, congratulations on the win. What does this win, what does this title mean to you?
Thank you, thank you. First of all, it's a big pleasure and honor to have this title, because a lot of great heavyweights like Muhammad Ali, Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and Holyfield, they kept this belt. So, and right now I enjoy them.
Getting back to your win over Hasim Rahman last Saturday, when do you think the fight turned in your favor?
I think, after the third round, that was my plan, to push it.
What sort of things did you work on in training? Did you have an idea that maybe Rahman might tire, that maybe...
Great Russian fighter who came over, and he didn't come over here, he came over to Australia. What he had was what no American today seems to have a lot of, and that was amateur experience. These kids, and at my age they're kids, these kids had 200 and 300 amateur fights because they couldn't fight professionally. They have experience. They know what to do. Hasim Rahman had 2 amateur fights. So when you look at it, basically, they're professionals, albeit they're fighting on an amateur basis.
Right.
Costa Zoo was the first, and we should have seen it at the time. But now it's Ali all in free, and that's not Muhammad Ali, that's all of these.
Lennox Lewis, a former amateur champion. Obviously, he's not Russian, and neither is Evander Holyfield. But you will point to Lewis and Holyfield, their series back in the late 90s, early 2000s, as part of this progression of the modern heavyweight. Why?
Well, it's a change in dynamic, Robert. Here's what happened. Heavyweights used to be 189 Marciano, 204 Joe Louis, 220 Ali even. Now they're 250 and above. They're dreadnoughts. These are big men.
Yeah.
I mean, they come to the center of the ring. You don't know if they want the pre-fight instructions or to holler jump ball.
Right.
And so American kids who are 250 have an option. It's called pro football. And they go into it. And I put to you probably the greatest heavyweight on the American side right now is playing linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis.
Well, you talk about size. It doesn't get any bigger than Nikolai Valuev, one of the champions from Russia, 7 foot, 300 plus. This guy is massive. On ESPN.com, we asked the question to various boxing fans, which U.S.-born fighter has the best chance of regaining a heavyweight title belt? Over 11,000 of you voted, and James Toney, the runaway winner, James Toney, 44%. What are your thoughts on James Toney?
I think James Toney's the best boxer out there. I don't know if he's the best heavyweight out there. You saw him in his last fight against Rahman. He looked like he had Goodyear written on him and could float over the buildings.
Certainly not doing ab work was James Toney.
Not doing ab work, not doing any work, but he is the most talented of them, but he's just not a heavyweight.
We'll talk a little bit more about James Toney a little bit later here on ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. That's like a big red bullseye for boxers saying, hit me, isn't it?
I don't know. I always thought no man was an island, but this man looked like one. He looked like Long Island, Big Island. He even made me look good.
We talked about James Toney, a lack of conditioning, maybe a lack of conditioning also hurting Munoz in his fight as well. We talk about middleweights. Now let's talk about welterweights. Floyd Mayweather is considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world. Carlos Baldomir is
the whole key. He comes from Santa Fe, Argentina, the same home as Carlos Monzon.
And both guys have wins over Gotti and Judah. Anything that you can glean from those two fights against common opponents?
Not really. I think Baldomir has surprised everybody twice, and basically against Floyd Mayweather, who is as good as advertised. But we don't know how Baldomir is advertised.
By the way, Dan Rayfield reporting Arturo Gotti maybe not going to retire just yet. Here's Mayweather against Judah. What stuck out at you in this performance by Floyd?
Well, Floyd did exactly what, and if you looked at the Antonio Tarver Bernard Hopkins
effort from Cisneros. Heavyweights coming up on Friday Night Fights. Denzel Washington's fighter Damian Wills looks to stay unbeaten. Now let's check in with Robert Flores.
NFL referee Red Cashin had his first down. Boxing referee Mills Lane had let's get it on. Arguably one of the most famous cries in all of sports. But since 2002, that catchphrase has been absent. In April of that year, Mills Lane suffered a stroke. He's been out of the ring ever since. Next week in a special two-part story, Friday Night Fights catches up with Mills Lane and his family. Here's just a portion of that story.
The title. Expect a tough, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Any questions from Mr. Lewis's corner?
No problem. No question.
Mr. McCall's corner. Let's get it on.
He has his bad times and where he's sad and he's frustrated and he can't believe this has all happened. And, you know, he gets upset and I try to talk to him about it. I would say 90% of the time we've kind of gotten into a nice routine where he is surprisingly content.
Back here with Hall of Fame boxing writer Bert Sugar. And Bert, I know you know Mills Lane very well.
Mills is one of the straightest shooters I've ever met. He was a judge in Nevada. He was known as the hanging judge. He put up with nothing, or up with which he didn't put. I remember once I was sitting playing blackjack at the same table that he was the night before a fight he was refereeing, and somebody came over and said, "Who do you think will win, Mills?" He looked around at this guy with a withering stare, and he almost, "How dare you?" And he said, "Get away." In other words, he couldn't have an opinion.
Right.
You knew he wanted to hit him because Mills had been an amateur boxing champion. But he put up with nothing. He was a no-bull type of guy with that wonderful southern drawl.
And we talked about it earlier, that let's get it on, that boxing fans, even fans that really don't follow the sport, they're very familiar with it. Is that the most famous catchphrase in all of boxing?
I think of recent vintage, but I don't think it's the all-time greatest. I mean, we've got so many of them. There was the old fighter, the 19th century Kid McCoy, who when someone was trying to make believe that he was Kid McCoy, said, "I'm the real McCoy."
That's where you get real McCoy from.
And there was Joe Gans, the lightweight champion, 1910, who said, "I'm bringing home the bacon." Then we have the famous one by Joe Louis, who before the Billy Conn fight in '41 said, "He can run, but he can't hide."
That's good stuff.
And my favorite was Bob Fitzsimmons, who at 167 was fighting heavyweights and became heavyweight champion, and said, "The bigger they are, the harder they fall. But make no mistake about it, amongst all those in that book called Bartlett's Book of Boxing Quotations goes one, let's get it on."
Certainly in that conversation. Coming up next week on Friday Night's Fight, more with Mills Lane.
Defeated Yamplier Azco, who is better known as the veteran Yankee Diaz. CC Salif, familiar face to many notable heavyweights. He's been one of the top sparring partners in the world, and he's acquitted himself in the ring as an 18-win veteran. He's taken time away from camp with James Toney, who is in his corner and escorted him down to the ring tonight. Found out about this fight this week. Last October, he lost a close split decision of former title challenger David Tua. So we have questions surrounding this heavyweight main event, and Teddy Atlas offers some answers.
The decision in our main event is on the way, but first, moments ago in Dallas, Evander Holyfield taking on Jeremy Bates. Bert Sugar, what did you think of the 43-year-old's performance tonight? Here's action in the first round.
I thought he was throwing good punches. I thought throughout the fight, and it was a 2-round fight, that his left arm, which has had 3 operations on it, was basically back to normal. But then again, while he looked very good, you have to question just how hard it was to fight Mr. Jeremy Bates. I mean, he fought as if he just came out of the Bates Motel.
So for the first time since November 13, 2004, Evander Holyfield steps into the ring and comes away with a victory. 3 shoulder surgeries on that left shoulder. He gets a second-round TKO over Jeremy Bates. Bates, definitely a journeyman.
To know the real story on Rocky Juarez, though, you have to go back to the beginning, the very beginning.
I was born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck and couldn't breathe. My mother chose everybody baby pictures of me with my fist up, and they always thought that I was going to be a fighter. My father, he wanted to name me Rocky Marciano Juarez, after the great Rocky Marciano. My mom didn't like it, so my father came up with Ricardo. When I made the Olympic team in 2000.
Advantage for Espadas. He has fought pro 8 more years. Championship rounds. Of course, the former champion, 35 championship rounds. And most recently, just last October, he was in against Eric Morales, the upper echelon. Rocky Juarez. He said, you know, everyone looks back at my fight against Zahir Rahim and talks about referee Roberto Gonzalez and how it harms Zahir Rahim and how the points were deducted. What they don't realize is that it hurt me too, because it took away my rhythm and it took away my ability to work on the inside.
And that's from a kid who's a real even-mannered kid, Rocky Juarez. He doesn't make excuses. He doesn't do a lot of talking. Been fighting since he was a little kid. We've seen all that already. Has shown or reared its head throughout his career.
And there's that left hand from Rocky Juarez.
And you know where it came?
What a shot.
Joe, it comes from a spot. He's giving up his height, throwing long punches. He ain't gonna make it. He's reaching in, and he gets caught. A beautiful counter left hook by Juarez. And you talk about economical. You talk about making it count. You talk about effective punches that mean something. Rocky Juarez.
Let's take a look at the one-punch knockout.
Juarez sets up a nice uppercut, and then he takes his step back, and he gets his spotters just walking, following him. Again, the uppercut, and then a little step back, and a beautiful left hook that his spotters, I can guarantee you, never saw coming. The last thing his spotters saw was his eyes were directed off to the side for the uppercut. And then the left hook, that step back by Juarez created the room and opportunity for that left hook to be that kind of punch. Surviving, not pulling straight back and not laying on the rope. Right here, Ramirez should be doing that, grabbing, and Juarez should not be allowing it.
Another left hand came in moments ago. What a start for Rocky Juarez as Ranchero Ramirez is holding on and trying to steady himself.
Look, there's two things that Juarez wants to concentrate on here. I think use the jab, don't leave yourself open, be fundamentally sound, coming behind the jab so you don't leave yourself open by getting over anxious, and go downstairs, because when an opponent's hurt, instinctively he's going to grab, he's going to move his head, he's going to try to protect that upstairs, that head. He's going to try to survive. Downstairs is there. If Juarez goes down to the body, it will freeze up the head, and then he'll be able to find what he wants. Right now, Ramirez has been able to accomplish what he needed to. Get a little time, but again, the right hand over that slow jab as Ramirez, just as I say that he was surviving, he's back on the canvas.
Second knockdown of this first round. And let it be known, this just doesn't happen to Ranchero Ramirez.
Ramirez does not use his height well, and when he jabs like a short man. He jabs from too close. Ramirez would be better off not using the jab, because when he jabs, he leaves himself wide open for the right hand over top.
Oh, what a left hand by Juarez. Somehow Ramirez stayed up. Maybe not here, though. Hold on.
And
this fight is over. A first round.
Light on that scale. Garcia has never been this low in his career. Never.
Right hand puts down Julio Garcia.
Well, it's just a matter of time. How much can you take?
6, 7, 8. You all right, buddy? All right, keep your hands up. Let's go. Back.
40 seconds to go in round number 8, and Garcia hits the deck. Candelo targets it again, backs him up against the ropes.
And Candelo's, the thing here is he's accurate. Everything is landing, that's why the referee's stopping it. Nothing was wasted. Candelo was really laser beaming in. He was accurate on everything.
Of course, against the left, you always want to try and double with the left hook anyway, throwing it to the body first to feel him.
Judas seems a bit crisper than he did in the Ward fight.
Early on, yes. Early on against Ward, he was just a little tentative.
Maybe it was because he was fighting someone that he had heard of.
Well, and he said it in that feature. He said, I watched Mickey Ward when I was 6 years old on ESPN, so it meant something. Now, if he